Working Cows Podcast, Introduction.
Welcome to the podcast that gives producers a platform to discuss and share paradigm-challenging practices. Practices that have increased the effectiveness of their operation and the joy that their families have received from this lifestyle.
Greetings, producers, or at least that's who this podcast is for. I am hoping to start this podcast in order to give producers a platform to share paradigm-challenging practices, as you just heard in the show opener. Hope that these paradigm-challenging practices will be things that can increase the joy and the profit and all those things that we seek to get out of ranching and out of managing livestock and managing land and managing people. I don't know that we often think about all those pieces as needing our attention, but I think that looking at it from a systems approach, as we will talk about in episode 2, can be a helpful thing. And so that's why I've started the Working Cows podcast, to give producers who are doing some of those things a platform to come on and share about what they're doing, and then also to give producers who are seeking to learn a place to come and to exchange ideas and engage in discussion through the Facebook page and the comments section and those things. So that's my hope, is that the Working Cows podcast can foster some kind of a discussion in the ranching industry about how we can find our niche markets and become more profitable businesses, and that will free us up to be operating probably on healthier land and with happier families, as is the title of Dave Pratt's book. So that's what we're shooting for here. That's what we're trying to do. I would like to, I guess, introduce myself, now that I've introduced the podcast a little bit, or introduce myself. My name is Clay Conry. I grew up on a ranch in western South Dakota, small cow-calf operation. Both my parents worked in town and used those jobs to help maximize their ability to operate a ranch in a way that would set them up to be able to retire and run the ranch full-time, retire probably early by some standards, and run the ranch full-time. And so now I am a second generation, as well as my brother and our families, kind of staring at stepping into a ranching operation. And so as part of that preparation to step into the ranching operation, my wife and I were students in the High Plains Ranch Practicum during the 2017 class, and it was a very eye-opening experience. It exposed us to a lot of different management styles and gave us a lot of information to go home and try and think about and see how we might be able to implement it in the ways that we are able to in the limited roles that we have on the family operations that we are part of. And so I guess that's kind of how I came to start this podcast, as one of our instructors continually encourage us, and hat tip to Dallas Mount, who is guest on episode 2, and he is the one who suggested that we go ahead and somebody go in the class go ahead and do that. And so I took him up on it, and here I am recording an introductory episode for that. Actually, a little bit of inside baseball here. I'm sitting in my pickup on the eve of the last day of class and the work in the High Plains Ranch Practicum, and we're just kind of been processing what we've been learning over the last number of months, and So I guess how did I come to want to be involved in the ranch in a more complete way, or a more full way? I guess that story is probably about 15 years in the making, longer than that, obviously. When I grew up, my dad, as I said, had a job in town, so after school it was chores and those kinds of things, and then on the weekends it was long days working with the cow herd. And so I didn't always enjoy it, and I somewhat resented the cows because I thought that they invaded in our weekends in some instances. And so I didn't grow up loving it. I know I've been around kids. One of my oldest, for sure, really enjoys being on a horse right now. He's only 9 years old, so I think there is opportunity and time for the others to show interest as well. And I've seen other kids who did love it from a young age and stuck with it all the way through, but that wasn't necessarily how I grew up. I didn't enjoy it as much, but I went away to Bible school in Milwaukee, and somewhere around there, I spent 2 years going to school in Milwaukee. Somewhere around there, on my way back, I remember getting out of my vehicle and just smelling the freshness of the western South Dakota air, and just the deep contrast of that with basically inner city Milwaukee was where I worked at the Milwaukee Rescue Mission. And so that was, I think, the start of it. That was maybe the seed that grew into me wanting to be involved. And then I got involved in helping my dad calve out some heifers. I'd sleep on his couch and check his heifers at night, and helped out there. And that was maybe a little bit of water on that seed. And I didn't have a lot of time to be involved. I got out of Bible school in 2005, got married in 2006, and then in December of 2006, I went to work at a church, and that was busy. In 2008, we had our first child, and then we had children every other year for the next 7 years, and so we were very busy with kids. And on top of that, my wife and I owned a coffee shop for 10 years, and so we were very busy. But when I was able to be involved, I got involved in the ranch, and that was just brandings and calving mostly. And then as time went by, I got involved in some moves and some different things like that, moving during the summer pasture moves and things like that. And so just as time has gone by, that seed has grown and grown and grown, and I really love it now. I've gotten to the place where I love ranching. I love how many moving parts there are to a ranching operation. I love all the different enterprises. I love the opportunities for leverage and maximizing the effectiveness and the efficiency and the profitability and the joy. I love all those things. And actually, my 10 years of working at a church have given me some tools, I think, in the people management side of things too. And so I'm looking forward to maybe being a resource to the operation I'm a part of in that way as well. We wouldn't be freed up to be as involved as we are if my wife hadn't spent 10 years working very hard in the coffee shop. We just sold that, and now she's been freed up to be at home with our youngest two. And then I have gone part-time at the church, and I'm now working part-time for my dad. So I'm involved there 2.5 days a week, very hands-on, and getting to make some decisions and some practice, some things about how we're, some practices that we might be changing up. So that's just a little bit of my story, how I got where I am, and what led me to start the Working Cows podcast. The goal of this podcast is to release a new episode every Monday with a new producer or an industry leader, a thought leader in the industry, sharing some wisdom with you, half an hour or so the episodes will be. We'll try and get them out to you on a weekly basis. Just a shorter episode here to introduce you to the Working Cows podcast. There are 2 other episodes already edited and ready to go that you can go out and grab on the same feed where you found this one, workingcows.net. You can grab it there. You can grab it on iTunes and the Google Play Store, and wherever you go to aggregate your podcasts, you can grab Working Cows, the Working Cows podcast. But workingcows.net might be the easiest place to start looking and find some other episodes that interest you. Episode number 1 with Mary Jo Ehrman of Farming Without the Bank, and episode number 2 on the 4 pillars of a ranching operation with Dallas Mount are both up and ready to go. So go ahead and grab those, and we will be uploading a new episode every Monday for the foreseeable future. So keep your eyes open for those. See you next week.
We invite you to visit workingcows.net to subscribe to the show via iTunes or Stitcher. You'll also find detailed show notes pages, resources from our guests, and the industry leaders who have influenced them. For more ideas on putting your cows to work for you in a more profitable way, tune in next week.